Hey guys, we just got back from Upgrade.
Oopgrad,
starring
sure?
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, that's exactly
And
Venom. That's fucking Tom Hardy.
Hey man, I'm. You know what sucks is that I'm staring at this guy. I'm like, wow, this guy looks like Discount Tom Hardy. And I'd be so pissed if somebody said that about me. I mean, honestly, you know, I look like Discount Alex. So it's like, but it's just hard for me to separate that there's these two movies, Upgrade and Venom, that almost have really similar
very close
premises. But this one is different. Let's focus our review in on this one.
And this guy killed it. He did an excellent job.
Yes. I was very pleased with his acting, and honestly, he actually got me to feel a little bit of emotion. But we'll get to that in a little bit into our spoilers. But let's give a summary of the film. I'm terrible with summaries. It's in the future.
You do the summary. Yeah, it's in the future somewhere, and our everyman, this Luddite in the future who works with his hands, and he doesn't want to order a pizza, he wants to make a pizza. Yeah. And he works on classic cars, and he sells them to all of these people with...
And he's against machines.
And he's against machines, because everyone in the future, for the most part, has some sort of upgrade, and he doesn't have any. And so he's driving with his wife, and they get into an accident. Their self-driving car flips, and then they're accosted by bad dudes, and she gets shot, and he gets paralyzed.
And thus we have our movie.
And then we have a movie. And then,
Vengeance.
And you've seen the trailer. He gets this little thing called stem injected into his spine, and you know, in order as a test bed for this new technology that controls your entire nervous system in your body and upgrades you, makes you better, turns you into a fucking ninja. And so from that aspect of the film, and honestly, it was described, I read the description, as a sci-fi horror, body horror flick. And it was by Blumhouse.
It was.
I was surprised. I was like, Blumhouse? But I guess they're trying to do something new. And yes, that's the thing. I didn't... By the end of the film, I kind of understand that direction and what they're trying to do with it. But... And maybe that will explain one of the things that bothered you that didn't bother me. I think that... So obviously you're going to get these scenes where he's kicking major ass.
And they're good.
Boom, boom, and they're really good. The first time he does it, they mix comedy in this film so well. When he's so surprised, you know, that he's doing these things, and he's shocked.
His comedic timing was great.
Yeah. He did a really, really good job in the fight scene.
And the fact that it's a body horror, I think maybe this plays into it a little bit, where when you shoot a head with a shotgun blast, you're gonna get the full effect in this film, and they don't really shy away from some of the more brutal kills that can result from a more robotic, you know, martial arts expert. And so that kind of enhanced the movie for me and made it a little bit more shocking when you saw these things.
Yeah. I mean, they did Saw. I mean, and you could tell there was a couple scenes you actually see in the trailer where there's some people die in really brutal ways, and if you've seen the Saw movies, you're like, oh, I've seen that before. And that is something that they like doing.
One thing I really liked about the film was its setting, and its setting was in fact so good that I wish they would have found ways to weave that into the narrative a little bit more. It was more a character-centered film. And around, obviously, our main character, whose name, Gray. Who's trying to get revenge on these people that killed his wife and sort of discover this greater conspiracy. And unfortunately, because it focuses there, I think that's sort of the weakest point of the film, that it is so by the numbers, so brutally predictable, and man, like almost everything that was happening I was predicting. Yeah. And it really made me upset because I was hoping that there'd be some twists and some turns, and there just wasn't.
There was one twist that kind of got me. Twist. I was like, okay, maybe I'm way off. I was like, nope, it went back on track.
Yeah, I will say that, but it was just so predictable, and that ruined it for me. What about you?
Yeah, like I said, it's the same thing. I already knew what was going on, but that last sequence kind of threw me off the rail. But I was like, oh, okay, never mind. It was a good twist, but not enough. to where I really enjoyed it.
Well, it seemed like they'd almost had written themselves into a corner, because when they explain how the movie ends, immediately my mind goes to, wait, that makes this not make sense, that makes this not make sense, that makes this point kind of strange. Why? Like, why not just, if you're going to be predictable the entire movie, finish out strong and like go with the more consistent strong. Yeah, you didn't surprise everyone, go, oh, but I wasn't all that shocked anyway. The other thing I had a problem with this movie, it was kind of inconsistent. There were some excellent action sequences, and unfortunately, the best action sequences are the ones we see in the trailer. The extended trailer, you see some of the best parts of this movie, and then
other than his final fight with his robotic rival.
But it's not the best fight though. I mean, that one was okay. That one was okay, but the first fight he gets into is stellar. Like it's really really good because it's got the comedy. It's the first one where he's like trying to figure out his body, and it's funny. And it's just an amazing sequence. Then he has a really short one that I was hoping would be more gratifying because he's against another enhanced human, and it's a 5-second long fight.
Because he ends it very quickly.
Yeah.
They really put a lot of emphasis that this robotic stem that it enhances him and makes him a super soldier, makes him invincible nearly. Though they did drop some hints that, he can't predict everything. And there's some limitations to the system. But yeah, it takes away some of that tensions in the scenes until he sort of runs into a wall against this other, robotic rival. And they've got to get creative. And so I think that it had a good visual look to it. And it was grounded in realism. I'm sorry I'm having trouble, conveying my feelings here. It kind of reminded me of Dredd. The more realistic Judge Dredd. But whereas in Dredd, I love the world, the IP is really good. This one sort of lacked a little bit of that. But it has that, oh man, I want to see more outside this world, but yet this is cool and I'm okay with this. That's what this film with Upgrade is, almost exactly. And smart, jokes, and really playing up the fact that, somebody's controlling your body and you can't do anything about it kind of thing, or he gives him permission and takes permission away. All that was great, but unfortunately, because the story is so predictable, it didn't rise to the level that I think it was capable of.
I wouldn't call this a great film. This is a good film. This is a film that I would say, you can go out and see this film. You're not get some popcorn, have a beer. You're gonna have a good time. But if you're expecting, I was disappointed because they did Get Out, they did Happy Death Day, and they did The Purge. I didn't watch The Purge, but Happy Death Day was a movie I thought was going to be terrible.
This is a production company. It's not like the same writers and directors are doing the same things.
But when they put out
it's a little difficult. Yes, I get what you're saying. When you're putting out these hits that go above and beyond or one step and add their own little things to it, even though Happy Death Day was Groundhog Day.
That was good, but the other one they did too was Truth or Dare.
Oh, did they do that one?
Yeah, they did. But that was sort of a misfire. But no, so what? Hold on. Let me say this. This is a good film. I enjoyed it, and I just wanted it to be better. I was rooting for the film the whole time. That was the thing, is that I really wanted it to like it much, much more than I really did. I do think that this one, though, has that potential to become sort of a cult sleeper hit and maybe result in something in the future. And I hope it does, to sort of explore that idea and maybe give it a second attempt. But what was here was a little bit too generic. And I don't know if that's why they didn't want us to do some of the over-the-top superhero stuff, and they wanted to stay true to some of this horror roots idea that they're playing around with, at least in the official synopsis. So maybe that limitation, sort of broke the tone back and forth and what they could do with the, antagonists of the film, the final battle, stuff like that. But they did deal with some interesting concepts, and it really makes me wonder how the hell, I'm going to feel about Venom after watching this, because I literally watched Venom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Voice in the head, robotic voice, but you got a robot versus a symbiote. And so a lot of the surprises are kind of gone. Because you know when Venom rolls around, he's going to have that same, jokey thing. I'm controlling and people beating up.
The entire time, though.
And honestly, the stuff that I saw in the trailer for Venom wasn't as action-packed and cool-looking as the stuff that's in this film. So I'm really worried about Venom. So what I'm saying is, Upgrade was well executed, but there's not much depth. And it's a little too predictable by the numbers. That's what I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it didn't have consistency. There was a... I mean, I don't want to get too much into the scene by scene. We can do that in the spoilers. You want to get to
we'll do the spoilers. And it's interesting because I think mass audiences will enjoy this. So if you're just going to the movie theater and you want to be entertained and you want to get a movie like Venom before Venom, go out and see this. It's gonna satisfy you. But I think where my complaining comes from is that I know this could be better, and like the film made me want to like it a lot more, but I just couldn't by the end because I was like, I do like the ending, and I do think that it's a little bold. You don't really see this a lot in movies anymore, and I'm really happy with that direction. So for every sort of mundane, boring choice, predictable by the numbers choice, at least by the end, it tries something bold. Now, whether mass audiences are going to enjoy the overall film, I'm not sure. We'll see in the tomatoes ratings and how this does in the box office and how this affects Venom. But, yeah. What about the supporting characters, Joe? What did you think about the detective who is sort of hot on the tail to investigate?
They were honestly expendable. Like, they're just fillers.
Filler characters. You could swap them out with anybody.
I didn't really care about anybody.
Yeah. They do show that the police have all these new technology and drones that are flying around that literally scan your face all the freaking time. And yet they don't know who, and so I like that.
Blurry, man.
I like that little social commentary where, we're giving the police more and more equipment, but really, are they that much more efficient? No, because the criminals finds a way to scramble their faces and do this. So really all it's doing is hurting the liberties and things of the general populace who wouldn't break the law anyway. And so I wish they would have explored a little bit more with the rest of the world. And the cities look so amazing. Like, I saw this building, and on the top of the building, the architecture. I want that architecture in real life. It has a fucking waterfall and a garden, and I'm talking a massive garden, massive waterfall, up on the high rise of a building, and I was like, oh man, this world is so cool. So it has these cyberpunk elements to it, and not too far into Blade Runner, but more postmodern cyberpunk elements, and I really enjoyed that. And you really only get a touch of that, a smattering of that. It wasn't the point of the film. The point of the film is this personal guy's journey and sort of experiencing him and Stim and their relationship and how they're going to go on this really standard story of revenge. You know what I mean? So it was basically, sort of like Death Wish, just with robots and little cyberpunk with guns in the arm, which is incredibly inefficient. I don't know. I thought it was stupid as hell. It was. You like that part, Joe? Yeah, flex your. Yeah, because weird. Y'all have biceps.
That's weird, but like how many misfires accidentally?
Yeah. So I was just thinking in my head, it is incredibly inefficient because, you have a rival, and if it malfunctions, you can grab another one or something. But if your arm malfunctions, you're going to blow your arm off, or you're like, damn it, I didn't carry other weapons. So incredibly inefficient. And he loads this shotgun with his bicep, putting shells. I was like, oh. But there are other little weapons from these enhanced people that we'll talk about in spoilers that I thought were cool as fuck. I thought it was cool. You thought it was stupid. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and do our final verdict and jump right into the spoilers. So final verdicts. I'm gonna go first. I've never done that before. So I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10. I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. I was thinking about 8 out of 10, but ultimately, just because it was so predictable, so by the numbers. But there's a lot to like here too, and there's some bold choices. And I just like the grit, the realism, and the acting was great. I got a little bit of emotion out of it. I love that his mom is in this character, and it just feels grounded and more realistic. And so, I don't know, I really liked it. So I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. See, it's above average. It just could have been 8, 9, 10. It really had that potential, in my opinion, if they had injected a little bit more innovation and creativity. And maybe it's because I've seen so many of these types of films before, and worlds and things like that, and comic books that, yeah, it's not that original for me. Joe?
I'm going to have to piggyback with what you said. 7 out of 10. It's a great summer flick if you're bored or whatnot. You're really going to enjoy this. The main character did a great job. With you, when you said the mom thing, didn't really affect me as much. Like,
yeah.
She was there, but like, didn't really.
Yeah, you're right. But, you know, you never see that in movies anymore. So
yeah.
I liked it.
But I wanted more action sequences. They were too short.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see.
There were
some
5,
more, yeah.
and like 2 of the.
They lasted like 3
like
minutes.
That. Because he kicks so much ass,
But
Joe, and
that's
I
what
think
you're
that's
there
why
for,
they were
though.
trying to do the more realistic thing. But you're right.
I want to see that. I did want to see more of the world building. But yeah, they had so much potential. They didn't tap into it. It's 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. What about you?
So I'm like right between a 6 and a 7. So I think I liked it a little bit less than you. I'm gonna go with a 7, mainly based on how well the main character acted. It is really difficult because you watch him have control, then not have control of his body, and then have control and not have control over and over and over, and not for 1 second did I think it was awkward. I mean, it's awkward because you're watching a machine control him a little bit, but it was excellent. The action was really disappointing because the best thing in the movie I saw in the trailer, the secondary fight scene was bad. It wasn't bad. It was 10 seconds long.
Disappointing.
And that's horrible. Like, that's what this movie is. This is a
action
horror movie, and I got almost no action and very little horror. Like, the only horror I got was, it's like I got over the fact, I can't control my body. It's like, great, move on with that, because there's not something that continually affects you. One of the worst car chase sequences I've ever seen. Yep. It was several minutes long, and nothing happened until the end.
I went to the bathroom, and I came back, and it was still going, and nothing was there. They were still driving in a straight line.
It was completely unnecessary, and they spent money on it. Like, you could see that they dolled up a bunch of extra cars to look like they're from the future. There were some standard ones in there, too. Yeah. But they tried really hard on this scene for no effect whatsoever. Yeah. I thought the ending was fine. It was I wouldn't call it clever, but it was better than the average movie by a good bit.
If they were trying to do horror, they needed to turn that dial way up. And if they needed to do action, they needed to turn that dial way up. Instead, what we get is a pretty consistent film, but just you want more.
There's also situations where, I mean, we talk about this, like, even on the ride home. It's like, well, all right, the movie ended this way. Doesn't that make scene, 7 and 17 and 22 not make sense now?
We could get into
and
this.
We will get into that.
What's your final verdict?
I think this is a 7 because there was too many things that we could probably explain away but aren't immediately apparent, and that really takes away.
We're going to do it now. All right, so 7s across the board. We really, really think that this is a fun ride, but we just see its potential, and we wanted more. And at least in my opinion, I hope it does well enough that this director and writer team or whatever, and I do want to see more in this world. And the way it ends, you could do it. I think you can. But this ending doesn't sequel bait, and I really, really like that. You could finish this and never do another one. Okay, so I don't think they went too, tonality is a little off. But anyway, all right, guys, so that's it for the review, and stick around if you want to talk spoilers in the spoiler section. See you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.
That's as much fighting as we got in that whole damn movie.
Welcome to the spoiler section. Alex isn't having it. Why aren't you having it, Alex? What ruined the movie? When you were talking about this didn't make sense, what were you saying?
Well, so let's go through like what actually happened in the movie. So he gets this implant by the creepy blonde kid.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. This kid puts the implant in there, and we find out that it was really him that paralyzed him because he wanted to experiment.
Yeah,
on
that was
him.
so predictable to see that you knew that this little kid was going to be involved in the plot. That his car randomly goes off into the bad neighborhood, and mercenaries come. You knew it was the fucking kid, or at least the kid involved in some way.
Well, they didn't, and then to set it up really, like, you see them shoot her in the chest, and you watch them do something special to his spine. I mean,
I wish they would have sort of used more subterfuge and made this character a little more likable, or that, oh man, he would never do this unless he really had to. But he didn't really have a connection with our main character. He just liked cars, but he never ever even referenced that he used that classic car, that he liked classic cars. It had nothing to do. It's just a really weak excuse to get him into this rich guy. And he's playing with a fucking cloud, and he's like, what is that? And he's like, it's my cloud. And then we move on from there. I was like, oh man, that's really cool. What is it? I want one of those.
No, we found out that he wanted him because he was completely unupgraded. He was one of the few people that didn't have something. But it was a really weak explanation.
I get the impression that there are others, but yeah, that he's pure but here's the thing. So it's actually not the little blonde kid. It turns out to be Stem. Okay, and I know a lot of you, the chip itself, because it's gaining sentience, and so at some point he's made the little blonde kid work for him. And so some of you saw that
the movie that didn't make any goddamn sense, because several times the blonde kid is trying to kill Stem.
How does it make sense? It makes sense to explain.
Well, there are scenes where the blonde kid says, "No, I'm tracking you. I want to watch what you're doing," and then he tries to remotely turn off Stem.
Shut him down, yeah.
And so Stem obviously has no more control over the blonde kid. Otherwise, he would.
Yeah. So this is what I'm telling you, and I told you before, but you raise a good point. But so the reason why the blonde guy wanted to shut him down is not because Stem told him to shut him down and all that. It's because he realizes that Stem is a monster.
No, I get that.
And he's trying to shut him down remotely to prevent Stem from coming back and fucking all of his shit up.
No,
I get that. So then what was the plot hole?
At the entire last part of the movie where he's like, no, Stem's in charge of me. This is why I'm doing all of these things.
Well, no, he's just in fear. It's not like he has a Stem and he's doing this and that.
Yeah, so he knew that Stem was a monster the entire time. He knew that
From where we've met him.
Yeah, he knew that Stem could talk the entire time.
Yeah.
So why? So he's like shocked. He's like, Stem's talking to you. It's like, you know, Stem could talk to you because he was talking the entire time.
There was a scene where he's like, he can talk,
and then Stem is incapacitated because the guy's incapacitated. He's like, this guy's a monster. I'm just gonna take a ball peen hammer to the back of his neck. It's like, cool, movie over. Like there's no looming fear. If they had done something where it's like Stem has control of my life support system, and then I'm gonna die if he that makes more sense.
And then the point you brought up in the car, why did the blonde kid send a military team to, fuck with, if he's already sent out the original mercenary team that shot and killed his wife to take him in, but he sends out another team, but you're supposed to think that, oh, this is a different thing, he's gonna shut him down and take him out.
But they're sent by the same person, and then one guy just shoots the other team for no reason. I mean, he could just be a dick.
So my explanation for that is that the mercenary team, this is a separate plot line. Those mercenaries believe themselves superior, and they talk shit about humans, and they're all upgraded, but they have this different kind of superiority complex than Stem.
Yeah.
Okay, they're two evil factions, and Stem, the chip itself, hired those mercenaries to do all this kind of stuff, and just because they take one job doesn't mean they're in on the villainy with Stem the whole time, so they don't know that the blonde kid sent those guards. And so if he sees guards with guns coming up an elevator and you're a military guy and you say, fuck everything, you shoot through the wall.
When does it become bad storytelling? When you have to jump down 3 different rabbit holes and then try to guess from what, like, past character experiences?
Well, no, I think it works fine, and it's not that big of a hole. And finally, the reason why is because they are doing a little bit of fudging. When you rewatch it, it's still fudged. I appreciate films where when you rewatch it, you can tell, oh, there are little idiosyncrasies that you can tell that he really is the bad guy or whatever. Here, they fudge it. They're like, oh, he could talk to you? That kind of stuff. I guess you could explain that away by Stem is right here. And you need to be lying and make it seem like you don't know that I can talk, or I will fuck you up.
Well, the blonde kid can't hear Stem anymore because they took Stem away from the blonde kid.
Yeah, but when the blonde kid acts shocked that Stem can talk, maybe he's just acting that way in front of Stem, so that's that he's, you know what I mean. Yeah, to do the act. But anyway, okay. So the main bad guy is Stem, and by the end of the film. Stem wins. Stem wins. He basically...
Here's the thing I wanted at the end. You said it's a horror thing.
Yes.
I wanted it instead of
and that's why it's a horror, because
like
he wins.
Instead of the stupid car scene, like the cop comes in, he's laying down, and it's like, hey, I have control over you now. So he goes and kills a cop and then kills the mom. Then that would
shit, that would be more horror.
Like, oh my god, you're a fucking monster, and he doesn't want to do it. He has no control.
And you're seeing a lot more.
He kills everybody. You're
seeing a lot more acting in the eyes because he's really good actor, especially when So it all comes to a head. He goes to the blonde kid's office. And just so happens that the detective who's been chasing him the whole time shows up, and so you've got these three main characters in there, and so he's trying to fight Stem because Stem wants to shoot the detective,
and the stupid detective just stays there. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, I really didn't like.
Yeah, why did she stay there?
She has a taser. It's like tase him again.
Exactly.
She's like, oh,
but
no.
so that's why there's some great writing, and then there's some weak points and stuff that's very easy to pick out. And it's honestly easy if you go through the script to kind of pick these things out. Where are the script doctors? It just sucks to me that there's not more script doctors.
I'll watch the movie, be like, this doesn't make sense.
This doesn't make sense. Just
do it
little
over
tiny
again.
things like that kind of make you question things.
Well, they probably film a bunch of other things, and the studio says, all right, cut 15 minutes out. And then as you're cutting little bits out, you make some scenes not make as much sense.
Yeah.
And then you have to just guess, okay, well, maybe these are
that's true.
Cyborg racists, and they don't like real humans, and that's why he's shooting humans, even though they're on the same team sent by the same guy. It's like, all right. There probably was a scene where he's just like, I'm a jerk and I shoot all humans for no reason.
A lot of things can get cut from the film that can explain or do some of these things. But there are moments where you're like, no, they cleanly shot it that way and it just didn't work out quite as well. And it feels a little tropey. And that's what this does feel a little bit towards the end. Just kind of going through by the numbers. That's why I'm saying that, because it pretty much follows that. The only surprise twist is that it was the Stem the whole time, which sort of acted like his friend, told him how to do everything, but you could see little hints of Stem not really giving a shit and would eventually just take over his body.
It just doesn't make any goddamn sense. If Stem is in charge the entire time, why would he allow the little blonde kid the ability to remotely shut him off?
And the little blonde kid is a genius, my man, and that's why he's trying.
When he was in charge of the blonde kid, he was just like, you're going to do that or I'm going to punch yourself.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm trying my best.
You would have a movie.
I'm trying my best to defend the film, but no, there are other...
He could have shut him down as soon as he
Yes. The problem is, like,
there are problems.
The more you explain the science in any of this garbage, the fuzzier things get, and more people can, like, pick things apart. Just say, he didn't have control.
Yeah, no. And don't pick on Alex because he's pointing out plot holes. This is legitimate because these are the things that I felt were weak about the movie too when you go back and look at it. I enjoy when a movie is a little tighter and you can appreciate it watching it from both angles. This one, you're not going to be able to appreciate it on the second one around. You'll be like, that's fucking bullshit.
This doesn't make any
You
damn
just
sense.
did that to manipulate the audience in order to hide the fact that this and that. And you can tell it. And it may be because it's from Blumhouse and maybe they didn't have the best writers on this particular one, but there was talent here and we can see it on display. And I just hope they get another shot at it. I don't know, because Venom is coming.
Blumhouse
and
has been doing really good stuff though.
But which one do you think is going to make more money?
Venom. I mean, Venom's a huge
And
IP.
if Venom makes more money, then maybe Blumhouse is like, well, I guess we can't do it. Or actually, that might be impetus to make another one. Yeah. If Venom makes more money, then they're like, oh, we can sort of ride on that coattail a little bit, you know. Even though this one comes out first, I'm all talking right on the coattail. This one came out first, legitimately. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if a Tom Hardy light can beat out Tom Hardy, and I will be really interested. Here's my prediction, that the action in Venom is going to be disappointing like the action in this one was, and I hope that's not the case. I hope that Venom has a lot better action, because I just don't think that the Venom film is going to be quite as interesting, because you have a reporter who just gets a symbiote on him and then they go out and they wreck shit up. as opposed to the emotional gravity of being a quadriplegic. Like, remember when, so he is just, he's just wiped out, you know, and he has no emotion, and then they keep referencing his wife. He tries to kill himself. And then his mom is just shaving him, cutting his beard, and he just, boom, just breaks out crying. And that got me. I was like, man, I was like, that guy did a great job at making me care about the situation he's in. And so I was emotionally invested, not only in the fucked up situation that he was in, but the realities of being quadriplegic, and then later invested in the fact that these motherfuckers just killed his wife in cold blood, and now I'm a goddamn cyber ninja, and I'm gonna go kill you. And I don't think Venom is going to have any of these really, you know, motivations that people can get behind. So I'm really interested. I think that this one will probably end up being better, even though it does have issues.
I hope not.
You want Venom to be better?
I do, because I think this movie could have been a lot better on its own. Like, so I don't want to get too much into like what I hope for Venom.
I do want Venom to be better, because that would mean Venom would be like a 6 or a 5.
So I want Venom to be a good movie, and like there's so many easy. It's like when you set out to make an action horror movie, I expect there to be significant action and horror, and we got a taste of both, but we didn't get didn't get a little, like, we had excellent story to a point, and then that went away, and then we had excellent acting, actually probably throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Here's what you get. You get by the number storyline.
Yeah.
Little taste, little taste, little taste, little taste. Excellent acting. You see, it just never rises above that, and that's the perfect summary for this film. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Was there anything else in spoilers? Maybe that I didn't see when I was during the car chase scene.
Secondary characters. I really did not like this stupid cop. Didn't make any damn sense to me.
She sucked.
She's just like,
why is she
investigating a quadriplegic?
Exactly. She's constantly putting suspicion on him. He's like, quadriplegic. Why don't you go out and do your fucking job? Which is finding.
To be fair, it was him. So she did her job. She found out who killed him.
She starts investigating him over. There was a
She does see him. She does see him on the drone. She does see him on the drone.
But she starts only investigating him after she sees a boot print with car grease.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no, there's a boot print with car grease, so I better start investigating this guy.
This is, we don't know what year this is, but how many people are working on fucking Thunderbird engines or Firebird, not Thunderbird?
Well, they didn't look any of that stuff. They just said engine grease.
Yeah, but there's probably not a lot. Well, at first you think, oh, there's not a lot of those, but actually when you look in the background of the film, there's a ton of them. There's a fucking Charger, you know. So yeah,
okay, well here's the thing. So.
We thought we ended.
Okay, so the detective.
The detective does a good job. I like the detective now.
No, I don't like it.
Why not?
I'm just like, this is my side. Okay. Detective. She already has a list of suspects. That suspect is in the murder case. That guy ends up dead. He's like, oh my god, who else knows about this? Grease. This guy's a grease monkey. Let's go check it out.
And to be fair, he keeps showing up next to the crime scenes, and he admits, yeah, I was there.
Eventually, but she's already like deeply looking into this.
So I withdraw what I said earlier. Why don't this girl do her job? She is doing her job. It's just I wanted to see her more investigating into his wife's death. She just looks at the drone camera footage and then just says, "Oh, no match, whatever." Whereas the robot, you know, the STEM looks at it and looks for little tattoos or looks for little things on the person, and he says, may I say something? This gentleman has a tattoo.
How did the drone footage, how did they not notice that there was no gun in the guy's hand? The STEM says, oh, did you notice your wife wasn't shot with a gun? You can see him clearly shoot it with, like, how do they have this drone footage?
So that's why the detective can't do her job, Joe. I'm right back to it. She can't see that the fact that he went instead of, right? Okay, so that should have been numero uno, lead numero uno. But it just clicked with me that I looked at the tattoo, which is this military ring tattoo, and it was very fuzzy on the screen. I was like, there's no fucking way that STEM could recreate that tattoo that accurately. And now it does make a little more sense because STEM was lying the whole time and he knew, you know, the exact tattoo and all that stuff. So he wasn't as smart and enhanced as you think he is because he's the main bad guy. All right. Anything else?
I think that's
I like doing more.
Let's see.
The more I think about this film, knowing that STEM is like in charge of everything, the more this story is just not good.
I like how there are fewer.
Like, here's STEM, done.
All Sam had to do in the very beginning, the second he gets turned on, he's like, hey, we should go to this hacker real quick because I'm noticing I've got a problem, and you should remove all of the remote stuff.
Okay, so let's talk about this hacker, this gender fluid hacker. So don't ask my gender. You know, I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman, but I liked this character, and they reference this battle between what is it? Like, I can't let you endanger us.
I can't let them win.
Yeah.
I can't let them win. And so I think she's talking about how, you know, the upgraded people versus just normal humans, but yet she's in an area where she is so integrated with technology. She may not have any implants, but she's very good with computers, and all her friends are in VR, living basically in VR. So
she's
it's very,
a middleman.
it's kind of,
she's profiting.
yeah, I guess she is. But you see how it references these other things that are in the background, and you're like, oh, I kind of want to see some of this and tie these things together, which they could do in a sequel if they do, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see how well this does in the box office.
And I want to see also what the guy was playing in VR. He was like this.
Oh yeah, he was doing one of these or something. I thought he was in like a mech or something, a mech suit. But yeah. All right, guys. So I think that's it. Oh, so the fight scenes. There was. Let's see. Let's count them. He goes to one of the guy's houses when he first takes control of the body.
Trailer.
Just absolutely obliterates and puts a fucking knife through his like in his
Cuts his skull in
jaw.
half.
Cuts his, yeah. And then the next one is in a bar. He fights this huge, burly, you know, muscle man and all of his dudes. That was a good fight. So 2 good fights. But then the rest of the film, they falter a little bit.
Shotgun to the face.
Shotgun to the face with another military guy that's injecting shells into his bicep. And you thought this was, oh, he's his lieutenant. He's going to kick some ass. He's fucking over. But you do get a nice head explosion out of it. And then good core effects. And then the main fight with the other sort of augmented...
Fisk.
Yeah, Fisk is his name. This you know...
The guy who can
Nazi
sneeze
haircut.
and kill you, which is the stupidest shit in this.
So that's what I'm glad that we kept doing this, because I thought that was cool. So
it makes no sense, because then at any point in time he can just sneeze kill everyone in the room with him.
yes.
Accidentally.
So he sneezes and the camera
But he
zooms
doesn't
in,
really sneeze.
and they're little they're little bio nano knights, and they go into the bartender's nose, who's like, get the fuck out of here, and it like starts eating away at his brain. He's like, ah. And then when he starts fighting with with our character Gray, at one point they're fighting to a standstill, and then the guy goes, ah, or something like that, and you're like, wait, why don't you just go like that? I mean, it's that easy. But he's like, ah, and all of a sudden he needs to like charge it up, and then you just punched him in the face, and it was over. Right? You remember that part?
I do.
I was like, why? I was like, okay, that is a little stupid.
And then
when you introduce those weapons, you need to explain that maybe show a little indicator saying he's out of that charge. He used it once and he's out. Now he's got other weapons he can use.
Yeah, that's the fight that we learned that Stem is not as good as any of the models that were before him, because he gets his ass absolutely kicked by the earlier model. Fisk kicks the shit out of Stem.
Well,
Stem
here's the
loses
thing.
that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they
Gray
fight
needed
to a
some help.
standstill, and then, yes, he actually does lose. And I kind of like that, because it's not as if STEM was created for military purposes and researches only. I like the fact that you're integrating human with this technology, so what they're saying is that guy has been military trained. Gray has not. So when you're combining a bunch of upgrades into a civilian and a bunch of upgrades into military, and I'm sure he has way more upgrades that we didn't even learn about, then yes, I thought that his power level was appropriate, and I liked the fact that Stem couldn't beat him, because then Stem would just be overpowered the whole time. He literally obliterates everybody but him. And then the human element has to come into effect, where he sort of goads him on. Yeah, your brother was a little fucking bitch. He cried like a bitch when I killed him, and it makes him...
It makes him mad, and yeah. But you gotta realize that Stem hired that guy, and Stem knew he was gonna go kill that guy, and Stem knew he couldn't beat that guy. Remember, Stem's in charge. He's the one who hired Fisk.
Yes, again.
Fuck Stem.
Again, it has some weak writing out, because it's trying to hide the twist at the end. Yes. And they could have hid the twist at the end a little better. But yeah, we definitely got everything now with the sneeze attack, because I liked the sneeze attack. I thought it was interesting. And I was like, man, this world is pretty cool. I'd love to see this world. It reminds me of Blade Runner, but it's not quite at that advanced technology yet, and I'd just love to see how it integrates with the rest of the world. And if I'm ever Bill Gates rich. I'm building a fucking building that goes all the way up and it stops here. It's got a nice little tower here.
They're building them now.
And then a waterfall.
They're building them now. I think there's one in Milan and Singapore.
A waterfall on a
they're
sky.
They're giant.
There's like a whole bunch of beautiful buildings.
They're forest buildings, and they've got trees all the way up, and then water fixtures all over the place.
I want one. I want to see it, and it'd be freaking sweet. All right, guys. So that's our opinion on Upgrade. Went a little longer than normal, but that's what happens when you have these movies that satisfy, but just have some problems because you want them to be better and you want to talk about it. All right, guys. Leave your opinions down below if you've seen the film, if you haven't, and yeah, let's discuss. All right. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.